I wanted to ask you, first of all, in your book Nomad Century, you say migration is not a problem, it's the solution. And I wanted to know, why do you think there are many states which are reluctant to receive migrants?
Yeah, well, we are stuck at the moment in a very anti-migration narrative, which has existed for a few decades now. We have a lot of nationalistic states in the EU and beyond, and even ethno-nationalistic narrative, which is very frightening. We've all seen where that leads. But it does need to change, and it has been different in the past. There have been a lot of policies, a lot of strategies to bring more migrants in, to increase immigration. For example, in Britain, where I come from, we had the whole of the Windrush generation, which was post-colonial attempts to bring people in to rebuild the health service after the end of the Second World War and to rebuild our industries. Other countries such as the United States, Australia have also tried desperately to increase immigration. There was something called a £10 POM scheme in which Britons were encouraged to move to Australia to build the nation. And other nations are following this project as well. Canada is aiming to treble its population over the coming decades. It's really building up bigger cities and bigger populations. We do need to change the narrative. We are facing this huge problem of climate change, which is planetary and which means migration is already inevitable, and it will increase towards the Northern Hemisphere, and that's where Europe is.
Taking into account this thing of integrating different ethnicities and different identities, in the case of Kiribati, how do you think it will affect in a long term if its society moves to the island Philippines, if its island disappears?
The Indian Ocean island states and all these very low-lying states really are on the forefront of the climate disaster. Places like Kiribati, Nauru, Fiji, Maldives, these are very low-lying island states, and they're already planning to move their population. So there are various strategies. Ideally, what they would like and what they've proposed during this kind of Rising Seas initiative is that they maintain and keep their national integrity, if you like, as they move. But of course, as a state moves, what you're losing and what you're leaving behind is, it is a tragedy. You're leaving your ancestors, your ancestral home, the places that are culturally important to you. Quite often your language may die. Kiribati has come up with various strategies. One is a sort of managed mass migration where it's training the younger generation in jobs that are appropriate for other places to help them migrate. So they have a program to migrate nurses to New Zealand, for example. They've also bought territory in Fiji for agriculture. But these are very low-lying strips that are constantly being washed away. The water is completely salty. They face all sorts of other issues as well, poverty and so on. When we think about climate migration over the coming decades, we are going to have to look at different governance options and give different strategies. Will states buy territory in other places? Will they rent territory? Will they set up charter cities? Will small populations be integrated into existing states? I think we will see a combination of all of these different things tried in various ways. They have been tried in the past. Britain rented Hong Kong from China for 99 years. The United States bought Alaska from Russia. These are all things that we have tried in various ways before, and we will need to look at all these different strategies and see what is the best option. But we must remember that people who have had to uproot. They've been forced to move away from their home, their culture, and their ancestry. It is a tragedy, and we need, as an international community, to help people with that very difficult transition to make it less painful.
So would you think like you have a more optimistic or pessimistic perspective on the future of climate migration?
These are all possible scenarios. At the moment, we face this unprecedented threat of climate change.
Okay.
We can either throw our hands up and despair and think we can't do anything about this problem, or we can look honestly at what we face, at the reality of what it means to changes to the planet, and then we can create a vision of what we want to see, what is possible, a pragmatic solution that is possible, that makes the world livable, and plan steps to get there. And that's the future that I would prefer. And people are going to migrate. It is inevitable. We can either fight it in the rich world and in the places which are less affected, that are luckier, if you like. We can fight it and we can try and reject it. We will not be successful at rejecting huge amounts of mass migration. It will lead to conflict and misery for everybody. Or we can plan ways of managing it and trying to create the best societies we can out of this huge planetary challenge. And that's what I would prefer to see.
And do you think richer societies are prepared like to face?
At the moment,
this?
No. Richer societies
Okay.
are not prepared at all. They're not taking any steps. Poorer societies are also not prepared. The world is not prepared for what is coming. We're not honestly facing up to these challenges and what they actually mean. We need to adapt everything, our entire societies across the planet, which is not easy. We face huge challenges. And you know, one of the adaptations we will make is that people will need to move from places of danger to seek safety in havens further north.
But we still have time to change.
We have time. We
Okay.
absolutely have time. But we need to make these choices
that's
democratically. Yeah, we need to talk about them and choose our future.
Thank you so much for this interview, and thank you so much for having come today to the College of Europe in Natolin.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and I'm so glad that the College of Europe is focusing on climate migration. It's such a key issue, and not enough places are.